Thanks for staying there, and the newspapers are ready for a Monday morning, and the Times, Daily Graphic, the Finder, the BNFT and the Daily Guide are here. Several stories on it, from the senior high school story to the release of the WASSCE exams. The Finder is saying that about 193,000 students will not be able to get to the university because they failed to obtain between A1 and C6. The Daily Guide talks about the Blaze story, House of Chiefs split over Blaze apology, and how Charlotte Osei was nailed. These are some of the stories for the morning. My guest to do the talking, a member of Parliament for the Secondary constituency, is a member of the NPP, Honorable Andre Jepa Mensah is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
By the grace of God, I'm well. Yourself?
We are good too.
Great.
Thanks for your time with us. And then member of Parliament for the Adaklu constituency is a member of the ND, Honorable Kwame Agboja. Good morning too.
Good morning, Brett.
Hope you're doing good.
That's good.
Right, so one big thing is the Finance Minister expected in Parliament this week, hopefully. And Daily Graphic has a story. Anxiety builds over budget review. Finance Minister says media package good. That's the story. And it says that ahead of the media budget review in Parliament next Thursday, that's how it put, next Thursday, so not this week, the business community, the political class, and the entirety of Ghanaians await with bated breath indications that the government will introduce new taxes and increase some existing ones in the presentation. Although the Finance Minister remains tight-lipped over the possibility of an increment in the taxes he is reported to have, in reaction to rumors of an impending increment, said he had no clue where that is coming from, and that until I come to Parliament we won't know. That's the Finance Minister. Now, while debunking the rumor, he was, however, quick to add, but expect a good media review. But a post on the Facebook page of a leading member of the NPP and former director of the Dankwa Institute, Gabriel Asare Ochredako, seemed to lend support to speculations about an increase in the value-added tax, and that have set the tone for a spirited national discourse. So that's the story. Some are against it, others suggest that tax must be sent to Parliament. The Guide has a story here, and I think that is what the Daily Graphic is trying to quote, where Gabi Blast Mahama, and he was reacting to a post on Mr. Mahama's page, and suggested that the NPP administration has been kind to Mr. Mahama on the havoc he caused to the country's economy, so he should not be talking about that. In a Twitter comment on unconfirmed reports that the NPP government intends to increase VAT in the upcoming media budget review scheduled for this week, Mr. Mahama tweeted that the business community in the country would suffer greatly if the government increases the taxes. Mr. Ochredako, who was not happy, took a swipe at the former president on his Facebook page and said the NPP government would continue to find ways to keep faith with the people of Ghana, just as they did in 2017. So that's the battle for VAT. Anytime VAT comes into conversation, there's a battle somewhere. Let's start the conversation on this. Now, media review, Honorable Mensah. Certainly, the story we'll listen from the Finance Minister should be one of hope for Ghanaians. How hopeful should we be?
Very hopeful. I guess good morning to our viewers in order, and to my very good friend here. You see, we are a country that loves speculation.
Is it not good to speculate?
Based on what? The media review budget has not been presented. It will be presented.
Right.
And when it comes, everything that is contained in there will be available for public discourse. But I saw on social media some post by Mr. Franklin Kujo that I think informed what Mr. Mahama, the former president, put out, and that's eliciting the kind of response that it did from Mr. Gabriel Chidago. But if you read the graphic story, clearly the minister and or his agency, the Ministry of Finance, have not put out one policy measure that is going to come in the mid-year review budget. So why are we wasting time, energy, debating on something that really doesn't exist?
What is wrong with trying to look into the future, the mind of someone who
based on
policies?
What?
Based on what? You see, for instance, we are missing revenue targets. So if we are missing revenue targets and civil society is thinking that, well, if the minister comes to parliament, he might come and increase taxes to patch up. Is it wrong?
We cannot wait for a week.
We cannot
for
have
the figures to be put
that
out there, for the policies to be put out there, so we can interrogate it.
So we can't have a discussion on that.
I'm asking, based on what is the basis for the conversation?
For instance, we are missing revenue targets.
You want me to debate what Mr. Ochidako, in his view, okay?
I want your view.
I'm saying that I'm prepared to debate and discuss what the minister officially put out.
Okay.
He hasn't done so. We are confronted with several major issues in this country. We won't debate that, but you're inviting us.
One of the issues is revenue targets that are missed.
But of course, revenue targets that are missed. He ought to come and tell us, the people of Ghana, through their representatives, what it is that the status is as we speak.
Right.
And that's the essence of why the law requires the minister to come to Parliament to provide a media review. Last year, there were no issues, were there? He came, presented an update of what it is and where we were, and did not ask for any increase or some appropriation to be made to spend, and that he indicated that we're going to work within the budget that had been approved for the ministry or for the government at the beginning of the year. Let us wait. It's only a week, okay, so that when he presents the facts, not speculation.
My worry is
people's suspicion
is you saying that we can't talk about.
What are we talking about?
Okay,
I should debate speculation that has been put out there by Frank. That Mr. Mahama.
It's not Frank.
Right, let's be fair.
I am being fair here. Let me ask you this: the man in charge of the National Health Insurance Authority had told the whole Ghana that he will put up a proposal that 1% be added to Can I land? Be added to the NHIA so that we can sustain the system. Is it therefore wrong for people to start speculating that, well, that proposal, the finance minister could accept it, and so we should talk about increases in taxes when he visits Parliament?
Has there been any increases in taxes? Everybody has a view. I have my views.
So
but it's my views. No, I don't have a problem. Okay, but you're inviting me to debate on speculation, and I'm saying that that exercise is really fruitless.
Let me ask you this: put speculation aside. Mr. Arno is saying that add 1% more to what I get. Should we talk about it?
Well, if that's the position that he's put out there, it behoves on government to either accept or reject it. And as I speak to you now, I'm not aware whether that proposal is going to be in the budget. People have views, several of them. Some think that, look, increase taxes. Others think, no, cut taxes, rather to generate more productivity and generate more revenue. Others say, increase the tax net. Yes, but it is the finance minister who is mandated by law to come and tell us what it is that the government is doing with respect to managing the economy.
What is your view?
I don't have one until he comes.
Honorable Mesa, you don't have a view on how to generate revenue for Ghana?
So that's what you want us to discuss.
Exactly.
Now. Well, unfortunately, whatever it is that I say is not what would inform the finance minister.
I know.
I think that he's still capable.
But I want to pick your view.
They have so far managed this economy, as far as I'm concerned, consistently over the past 18 months in a better and sustainable manner than my brothers did on the other side. There's a lot of legacy issues that has hindered some projects and programs that we would all have wished to see. But those issues ought to be fixed. Okay? And I hear my brothers say that, look, don't complain, fix it. And I agree. But in doing so, it is important for Ghanaians to realize that the people who messed this country's economy up are never given the opportunity to come and mess it up again after others have fixed it. Okay? So I'm prepared to wait for the finance minister. He has an excellent team. Himself, Mr. Dubois, and my own sister Abina are capable, together with the economic management team headed by the vice president, are capable in evaluating all the proposals and present what it is that they think in their view.
You still have not told me your view about
which
direction
my
to
view
go
doesn't matter.
On
my
this
view
program,
on this
your view
issue
matters. Your constituency is watching you.
The only view that matters
to bring in development.
The only view.
Which direction should we go?
Right. The only view that matters is the finance minister's view.
Honorable Mesa, in getting revenue to bring development, which direction should this country go?
Well, it depends on the finance minister. I'm not a finance minister.
You don't have a view?
I don't have a view. I respect the view that the finance minister will present to the people of Ghana, and we can discuss it.
I'm grateful. Kwame, so the expectations are great, but which way should we go? Honorable Mesa suggesting that, well, let's wait for the finance minister. We should not discuss it because we are yet to see anything that he has said.
Well, Bright, good morning, and good morning to you and my good friend, Eja.
You mentioned his local name like that. Are you asked to stop mischief?
I can see.
I'm very
I can see he's a bit.
Because I've wondered why we waste so much time speculating on matters that we have only a week to get the figures, and we can debate it. I see he has a copy of the 2018 budget.
Yes.
If some targets have not been met, by all means, let's talk about it because they are actual. Reading into the future into somebody's mind when cabinet has not even approved.
Good morning to your cherished viewers, especially those from Adaklu who are committed to viewing this program and getting educated. Right, I would encourage the NPP to read the IMF report, the latest report on Ghana. It gives some interesting reading. So if they are trying to find out why businesses and people, economic watchers needed to be worried, the easiest thing to do is to read the latest report of IMF on Ghana. Bright, do we have to be anxious? Well, what are the facts? Bright, revenues consistently, government have been performing lower than expected. We are not able to collect the revenues that government intends when it comes to Parliament to tell us about the budget. The cedi has been depreciating. Just recently, even inflation that we thought was on a stable ground, it was always increasing towards 2016 and continued in 2017, has started going bad again. Government is largely spending on consumption. When you look at the revenue, when we talk about government debt, we're not only talking about tax. Indeed, they are collecting some taxes. And we have now come to a point where we know that government has borrowed over 30 billion in 18 months. And that all went into consumption. In other words, it didn't go into anything that will bring the money back into the economy. That is the 35 billion and or so is on top of the taxes they collect consistently. All these things, and when you realize that capital investment budgets have been seriously affected. In fact, in 2017, when we were doing the 2018 budget, when we reviewed the 2017 performance, some ministries got as small as 11% release from the Minister of Finance. So it is not unusual for us to see the state of the roads completely deplorable. The only projects that are ongoing now, that if sometimes I say that without the work done by President Mahama and the NDC, the president will have no work to do. Because basically what he does is go and inspect projects started and have been funded already by the previous government. He himself hasn't got anything to go around.
Is anything wrong with him?
No, but what I'm saying is that imagine that NDC didn't put these things in place. The president will have to be almost sleeping because he has absolutely nothing to do by himself. What are we talking about here? My brother talked about how NDC messed the economy. I would ignore Gabi. Indeed, a lot of people believe Gabi actually, in his mindset, he is the prime minister. He came out to do what they say, somebody say flying the kite, to test the ground and see whether a suggestion of increasing taxes would work. Indeed, we expect that they might back off the VAT, but shift the taxes to other things. Oh yeah, we know the game plan. The point is that
today you know what the finance minister is
serious. We are in a serious problem with our revenues, and it's compounded by the fact that whilst every government, since independence, when you want to change something like a fundamental change to education and health, you need to subject this to some synthesis, some understanding of the people who matter. When we were trying to change from middle school to a JSS and all those things, there were committees set up to review those things. When free SHM, when schools to be changed from 3 years to 4 years or 4 years back to 3 years, all these things were reviewed. But for the first time, a government came and said free SHS, and without any consultation with anybody, they sat at MPP headquarters, decided free SHS, and came and tried to implement it. And the problem is that the cost of running this, even in this bad state, is so huge that it's not even sustainable. I've been telling them, there's nothing wrong if you are a politician, you tell the truth. Okay, we promise this. However, starting this, we think going forward, it will not work. We are calling on stakeholders, let's sit down. What is the best way to take this forward? I keep saying, myself and my brother do not qualify to have our children educated under free SHS. We should be able to pay. But today, if my child goes to a school like a secondary school, I'm compelled to say I can't pay. Am I being dishonest or what? Why are there other people who can't pay who actually exist? So why are we not targeting people? I say, give the scholarship to the individual. If you think there's a child out there, good, who needs education, who can be supported, apply the scholarship to the individual. He can take it to Achimota. He can take it to Adaklu Secondary School and then benefit. What is the point of applying free SHS to Achimota School? What is the point? How many people attend Achimota School whose parents can't pay? Guess what? They go and pay at Montessori and all these expensive primary JHS, and when they get to secondary school, then you say they can't pay. But let's get to the point he made that we left my brother. Apart from the fact that I said, if not because of what President Mahama did, President Akufo-Addo would have been almost unable to do anything currently, because apart from implementing the free SHS in a bad form, there's absolutely nothing for the government to do. They have no plan for the health care system. They have no plans for our roads. They have no plan for anything. So let me remind my brother, when Gabi talks like that, but
your house, I'm not too sure, but your house just approved some loans for some road. So if you say there's no plan, then what are the loans for?
My brother is fond of telling me everything we do. We talk, we say we did it. To be honest, that loan agreement have been in the process.
Okay.
We didn't. I didn't say we took it. I've been in the process. But what they want to apply to currently is another issue. As we speak, we are talking about the program when it came to Parliament, doing capacity building. When we are spending $10,000 on capacity building for one person. I don't know whether we are cutting the people's head and putting a new one on top of it to cost 10,000. But we'll deal with that one later. Somebody should tell Gabi that no matter how much you love your uncle and you wish him well, there's a difference between protecting your uncle and coming to reality. When you have a government that came into power and inherited an energy, a power generation capacity close to 5,000 megawatts, when our needs are just about 2,000. So when President Mahama says that we may be capable of exporting power at the point in time and he insulted him, when you haven't added anything. So today, the power situation in this country is stable. All they needed to do is to provide the funding to be able to keep the lights on. And then Gabi is saying that, will you be happy to pay more? You haven't invested any money. All you needed to do is to use your head and find out how the light will be on. You say, no, you can't think. Let Ghanaians do that. When you have a situation, when the previous government invested in oil exploration. So today, by the time we are handing over to you, we have doubled our capacity to drill oil. In fact, we are almost 200 barrels, 200,000 barrels, when we used to do just about 100,000. All these things handed over to you. We have handed over to you a world-class gas infrastructure, which means that you can generate a gas to even power some of the power plants without even thinking much about it. When we handed over to you hospitals that are world-class, that you don't have to travel to abroad, when we handed over to you schools, roads, other things. So we have done the hard work for you. All you need to do is to go to the office and do a little bit of thinking, and everything will be all right. And guess what? These things that I mentioned, and very soon,
quickly, so that you come back to the tax.
You see that president go to Kotoka to commission Terminal 3. Sometimes when I talk about, and I've been hammering this, creation of jobs shouldn't be NAPCO. I still say NAPCO is like job seekers allowance, which I have no problem about. The way you create sustainable job is when you invest in things like that. Ho Airport, Tamale Airport, Kumasi Airport, Terminal 3. The reason I say this is that when Terminal 3 becomes online, you are going to have a new set of workers working there. They are not going to close down the other side, Terminal 1 or 2. This is a new area, that new job for people. More airlines will come. The frequency will increase. Then you put more money into the economy. The NPP government in 18 months did none of this. Yet they borrowed almost 35 billion extra. You remember the last budget? Honorable Atoforson keeps saying, and how do you call it, Adongo, we kept saying that the finance minister was economical about our debt. He claimed that our debt was only 140 something billion. Was it not amazing that Bank of Ghana themselves came out last week saying that our debt is $154 billion. So should we not be asking questions the next time they come and tell us something? Should we believe them? Coming back to the taxes, you know what?
Quickly, so that
you know what? The NPP are in a quagmire. Why? Because they've kicked against every tax reform in this country. The worst of it was the VAT, and the president himself led a demonstration that led to people dying with respect to the VAT. VAT is quite, as of the time, Ghana didn't have VAT. NDC introduced VAT. You can only push VAT only up to a point before you become counterproductive to other people. When you have a government that is 110 ministers, over 1,000 employees, and initially they will tell you that it's not going to cost. Of course, all this goes into the cost. And you tell people that 110 people, 1,000 people can't think enough to generate extra revenue except to pass it on to us. Government would have to realize that people will resist it. So finance minister is in a corner. He will come to parliament. He will try to dodge certain things, but the bottom line is that if he increases taxes, there will be trouble. If he doesn't increase taxes, there will be trouble. Why? Because for 18 months they slept on the job and did propaganda. They come on radio and television and tell you that everything in Ghana is okay, Adaklu is okay, his constituency is okay, yours is okay. Meanwhile, we can see the road getting deplorable, the schools not being built, hospitals not being built, no jobs being created. They think that to build a country is to have sharp talkers, be on radio and television 24 hours. That will not build the economy. And guess what? I can't hear what Dr. Baumier's views about this thing. So he was the one who told us that he has the acumen, the capability to do these things. If today Dr. Baumier's management of the economic team can't build 1 kVIP, can't generate even 1 megawatt of power, then I think there's a problem about having PhD in economics.
Well, I wish you had not gone there.
No, what I mean is that they made us believe that when President Mahama spoke, they said he hasn't got degrees in economics. That's what the reference I'm making. I'm not saying that there's anything. I'm just saying that if this is what we'll get from a PhD holder in economics, then President Mahama, who hasn't got all those degrees in economics, have laid a better foundation. That's all I'm saying.
All right. I guess you have explained it. Honorable Mesa, even before you react to now, let me quickly read what's in what Ms. Ochredako posted. Now, according to Daily Graphic, Ms. Ochredako posted, will you support a VAT increase to keep your lights on, your secondary schools filled, your school kids fed, your streets clean, your streets safe, young graduates employed, and decent, affordable homes built for working families? That's a question he's posting. Now, the paper goes on to say that on page 17 of the NPP manifesto, under the subheading, shifting the focus of economic management from taxation to production, and said the mismanagement of the economy under the Mahama-led NDC government had resulted in an increase in taxes on virtually everything taxable. Now, the Daily Graphic is suggesting that the public discourse is bordered on what has been described as a turnabout in the 2016 manifesto of the NPP. You disagree or you agree?
But, right, you see, Gabi Ochidako, as far as I'm concerned, his name hasn't been tabled anywhere as an official of state. He's not the finance minister.
Right.
So if he has a view and he puts it out there on social media, I guess that it's for him to, as it were, establish the veracity or otherwise of it. I'm saying that as far as I'm concerned, when the finance minister comes and puts out his economic policies in the mid-year review, we should debate it by all means, and that we shouldn't stray into comments that have been made by people on social media as basis for what government has done, because government in fact hasn't done any such thing. Okay, if the proposals come for tax increases, there will be basis for it and we will debate it. I'm not shying away from that at all, and that when that happens we'll come and talk about it.
Right.
Okay, but you see, it's interesting how my brothers on the other side think. Look, revenue targets between 2011 and 2017. It was only in 2015 that government revenue targets were achieved. And I have the figures here. Okay, 2014, the expected revenue target was 17.61. We raised 17.07 billion. It was a decline. 2015, expected revenue 21.57. We raised 22.19. That was an increase. 2016, we expected to raise 29 billion. We raised 27.8. 2017, we expected to raise 33.43. We raised 32.31. A decline. 2018, expected revenue 39.8 billion, and we have not completed 2018. So it is not strange. You can see that year-on-year increases happen, but the targets that we set is what usually, based on some factors that is not within the control of the finance minister, the Ghana Revenue Authority is unable to achieve them. So the fact that we are not meeting our revenue targets, okay, it's no news.
Is it not worrying?
It's worrying because if we're able to generate the funding, then we can fund the. But I'm saying,
if it is worrying,
historically,
the media,
you see, right,
it's news. As
right.
As it
You see, what is revenue? It is money that you and I give to government to manage the country on our behalf. So if we are unable to pay more to government, government cannot fund the programs all the programs that he has. So let us not say that because we are not achieving revenue, government is not performing. The facts and figures are there for all to see. The economic growth rate that has occurred in this country, we all know. Look, if revenue and you say themselves, no, but right, I'm saying that,
what is government doing then?
Look, we haven't seen the actual figures. Yes. Okay, and when the finance minister comes, we will see the variation if it is very wide or it's small. But if I recall, as at March or May, thereabout, the variation that we're having was, I think, like 3 or 5%. Okay, from targeted revenue, which is within the margin of error. That ordinarily you want to get full complement of the revenue, but if you're missing it by 2, 3, 5%, I don't think we're doing too bad on that front. You see, they forget. He sits here and says that they created power up to 5,000 megawatts. They increased oil exploration and what did gas infrastructure. I'm not surprising that they think Ghanaians have short memory. GNPC, at the time that the MPP came into government, they hadn't discovered oil, not one barrel. They were doing farming. it was the Kufuor administration that refocused GNPC such that we discovered oil in commercial quantities. That day, termed Ajongo. Now, because of the vision that the Kufuor administration had, it had negotiated with Talo to give us in excess of 20 billion MMBTU, okay, volumes of gas for free, so that we can develop our gas infrastructure. So Atuabo was planned before the NPP government left office. Okay, so yes, when we lost the election, you had to do the plant, which was good, and it's good for the country. Ask them what they did when they were negotiating ENI. Atuabo essentially processes the natural gas into lean gas, condensate, LPG, and then pentanes, 4 products. When they were negotiating with ENI processes everything offshore and pumps only the lean gas to the pipeline for local use. And they negotiated after stripping all those natural liquids off, the most expensive gas ever in the whole world. These people, they have the audacity to speak.
What is the point here?
The point that I'm making is this, that the management of this economy has been better done under the NPP than the NDC. And that let's not, look, Mr. Mahama said, and I agree with him, that every government does infrastructure.
But you haven't done any.
But you are comparing 8 years to 18 months.
No,
and I'm saying
Mahama was not in government for 8 years.
NDC was in government for 8 years.
What
in government for 8 years between 2009 and 2016. It's a fact. Okay. Now this government has been in power for 18 months, and there are huge legacy issues that needs to be dealt with. Infrastructure will happen. In fact, it is happening, but you people choose not to see it, which is fine. And I'm not interested in coming to city and going into content analysis with you that, well, you built Kolebu, I did Achimota. No. The people on the ground,
it will happen.
Of course, there are projects that are happening ongoing. He says they funded all of it. Thanks be to God. You built the entire Ghana. Good. But at least the people of Ghana saw your performance and realized that these guys don't have the competencies to manage their economy in a sustainable manner. And accordingly, you guys took us to IMF, and the Ghanaians booted you out. This government has come. The economic indicators are all improving, and all the infrastructure projects that we promised in our manifesto are going to be delivered. We have an 48-month mandate. We've done only 18 of it.
I'm grateful.
But let me
quickly.
It's amazing when NPP people. He said, did I hear him say that all the economic indices are going well?
Absolutely.
Our CD is depreciating. You have borrowed $35 billion Ghana CD on top of the taxes. You haven't even shown KVIP for it. People are looking for job. They can't get it. Your revenue target is down, and the question he asked, you see, we'll get there as well. Even paying NAPCO will become a problem. Why? Because paying for a free SHS is already a problem. And I'm saying that instead of you saying that,
what was the content of our cost?
The reason NPP,
the minister came to provide the figures last week in Parliament
about the revenue shortfall is this: the fact that they can't collect the revenue means that the things that matter to you and I are not being paid for. Today, when the road minister, any minister comes to Parliament, they answer every question. They will tell you they don't have money, so they are not going to do it. And I'm saying that you cannot build this country based on free SHS. The other time I said somewhere, the NPP thinks that they are so committed to free SHS, which is even just a third. I wonder what will happen if the second batch joins. And guess what? This has nothing to do with even the infrastructure to run free SHS. This has nothing to do with projection as to when they get to tertiary institution. In fact, you will notice the worst form of senior secondary school graduate will be as a result of the abysmal way they've implemented the free SHS, because they are not talking about quality at all. They just think that all of them should go wholesale and come out of the door and nothing happens. And I'm saying
that's
that
not true.
For the 18 months, You borrowed almost 35 billion Ghana cedi. You have absolutely nothing to show for it. It all went into consumption.
Okay.
Nothing that matters to these people. And I'm saying that the finance minister would have no choice than to tinker with some taxes. And they're in a quagmire. If somebody tells you that Gabriel Chedako is not in government, doesn't say anything, of course, he's not officially on any paper. But he knows Gabi is more powerful than him, even though he's a monkey. Gabi is more powerful than him.
Of course, he's power from where?
God is more powerful than him.
Where does he derive his power?
Because I don't have power. Because
I said my people.
Let me tell you why it's more powerful than him. Because this government is run on friends and family. You are not the president family, so you are not powerful. It's his family people who run the government.
I am grateful, gentlemen. Let's quickly touch on this one before I take a quick break. There's a story here, quite interesting. 2 employees of the Elmina Zongo branch of Asa Savings and Loans Company, who allegedly kidnapped 2 children because their mother owed the company, have been sued for assault, battery, kidnapping, and forced imprisonment at the Cape Coast High Court. Now, we're told that the incident occurred on May 2nd, 2018, while the plaintiff's children were at home watching TV. The 2 employees forcibly entered the plaintiff's house and took the 2 children without the authority and consent of the wife. It is said that the 2 employees took their children away and threatened them to produce their mother, else they would not be released. Honorable Mesa, this is more. This is you are a legal mind.
It's a crime.
If I owe you, you come and kidnap my children.
Absolutely not. It's not something that is acceptable under our laws, and I think that have the people been arrested?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, of course. Yes. I mean, I'm sure that the law enforcement agencies will do the needful and effect the requisite prosecution to, as it were, punish and to deter people from engaging in these kinds of activity.
I see. Kwame?
Well, I agree entirely with my colleague. We know neighboring countries that have gotten down that route, and then to the extent that it becomes a real issue. I'm horrified by the fact that if I owe you and I can't pay, you can resort to kidnap and other things. I think, like my colleague said, the laws of this country frown upon that, and the least we can all say about it and allow the security and the law enforcement agencies to deal drastically with those people so that it serves as a serious deterrent. No way can you attach my children to my debt as like a collateral or what. I mean, I don't think we should countenance things like that at all. It's completely not on, and I think the police and the law enforcement agency, and I think the media should follow up so that this shouldn't become another dead end case. Well, let's find out exactly how this ended up. Kidnap is not one of the things we are used to in Ghana. We shouldn't even encourage it.
I see. So, I mean, these parents can have their say in court.
Absolutely. In fact, it's not even their call. This is a strictly Attorney General matter.
The state?
Yeah, the state ought to deal with those persons who have effected the kidnapping of their children for purposes of repayment of loans that they advanced to parents. I mean, it's completely unacceptable. I mean, it should not be tolerated at all.
Let's touch on this one. Because you are from, you sit right in the fishing community, this issue of the ban, we're told that it has 7 get starting quickly on that before we wrap up.
Well, I will urge my community to as it were, abide by the directives that have been issued by the minister, because if clearly our fish stock is being depleted, and we all know, I know my constituents go for fishing and they don't get the kinds of fish that they were getting in the past, and science has clearly indicated that it is in August that the fishes, as it were, reproduce themselves the most, and that is when they come closer to the shore and we go in there to catch the fishes. Clearly the stocks will not be available after a certain number of years. So if the experts have indicated that it's important for us to put a temporary halt, at least in the month of August, to enable the fishes reproduce themselves, I think it's something that we all ought to support.
Kwame.
After all, it's not a permanent ban. We are not
It's not.
banning
It's just one fishing.
In principle, this happens in many countries, even in an advanced country. But let me tell you why this is a bit misplaced. Let me tell you why. The biggest theft of fish in our water are not the petty fishermen in his village. It is the international criminal organization, without mentioning a country, who are using trawlers and other things, stealing our fish. And unfortunately, we don't have the capability to monitor our waters effectively and deter those people.
The marine police are not that active.
No, in fact, I serve on the Road and Transport Committee. We've been urging the Ghana Maritime Authority and other related agencies, improve the infrastructure you can use, because currently, if you go to their outfit, they can see, on satellite, objects on the sea, which could be, pirates and everything, but you don't have the capability to go and find out what that guy is doing there. So instead of punishing people and thinking that when you stop fishing in Accra or Cape Coast, that would automatically bring fish back into the water, that is just minute part of the problem. They should go ahead.
Mutually exclusive.
No, that's what I'm saying. That
yes.
You see, when you have malaria, it gives you some headache as well. You can decide to take paracetamol, which will cure the pain, but the sickness is inside you. I'm saying that tackle the sickness. The problem about overfishing in our waters is not merely the issue about people fishing in Keta or Axim or anything.
Every month of the year.
It's about the big look. The small man with a canoe with a small Edison. The guy who has got a trawler that can actually move from here to Flagstaff House and drag the bottom of the sea. That is the problem. They should deal with that and let us have some solution. Relying on the so-called ban today is not going to solve all the problems.
All right, I'm grateful. Unfortunately, we'll have to wrap up today. We did just about 40 minutes. I'm grateful for your time.
The Attorney General's the police investigation on the both salaries have been completed.
We're told the statement had on the front page 11 NDC MPs to face trial, but unfortunately, we don't have the time to talk about it.
Why? Did they tell you what happened? You see, NPP doesn't understand what they are doing. But are you? I thought you were going to ask us whether we know anything about a parliament building, a hotel. I heard some interesting thing that because we spend money in hotels. When does a parliament pay my hotel bills? And when I win an election from Boku and I come here, are they saying that they'll put myself and my family in a hotel in parliament? This decision was nothing that he knows about. So I thought you were going to ask me.
I don't have a lot of time. Secondary constituency.